Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are diving into the heart of how AWS is built globally. Whether you are just starting out or brushing out your cloud skills, understanding AWS's global infrastructure is super important because everything you build on AWS completely relies on it. Let's get into this PPT presentation I've prepared. So I'll be explaining you all the global infrastructure of AWS. Now, the next slide. So this slide is about AWS Global Infrastructure Overview. So AWS isn't just about cloud floating in the sky. It's a vast network of real physical infrastructure spread across the globe. It'll include regions, AZs, which are availability zones, data centers, and edge locations. These components make AWS highly reliable, secure, and fast. This setup helps companies build applications that are resilient, fast, and always available, even during failures or disasters. So to explain this better, let's say you're just launching your application on AWS. So you need a region where you can have your availability zone, you can have your virtual data centers, so you can have edge locations where you can easily get your information from the edge locations, right? And the next one, this is designed for high availability, fault tolerance, and low latency. So the next slide is about AWS regions. AWS has multiple regions all over the world. So examples you can just see, like when you go into the AWS console, you will just see US East 1, EU Europe East 3, AP South 1, something like that. Think of a region as a large geographic area, okay, like a city, and inside that city you have multiple data centers. Each region is isolated from others, which means that if one region goes down, it won't affect the others. Most AWS services you use will ask you to choose a region. That's why understanding them is the key. Okay. And the next one is about choosing an AWS region. Now, how do you choose the right region for your project? So there are four factors to consider for this. One is compliance, data laws and regulations. So you should be legally required to store data in a specific country. The second one is proximity. Choose the region which is closest to your users to reduce latency. Okay, closer region will give you better latency. Let's say I'm living in India right now, so I want to host my application right now. So if say I'm from Andhra Pradesh, the closest to mine will be Mumbai, right? I can't just go to America and set up my project over there. So I'll just set up Mumbai for to reduce my latency for the projects. And the third one is available services. Not all services are all available in our regions. Pricing. Cost may vary by region, okay? Some regions are really cheaper than others depending on the demand and availability. So it's just not about choosing the closest one. You've got to balance these factors. So you have to be clear about all the services you have in your region, or everything. You should be clear about all the services, what all you will be using in your project. So accordingly, you should choose your AWS region. So the next one is AWS availability zones. So each region will have 3 to 6 AZs. Okay, so each region will have 3 to 6 availability zones. So let's say these AZs examples are AP Southeast 2A, AP Southeast 2B, etc. So these are basically separate data centers inside the region. Okay, each AZ is physically isolated with its own power, coding, and networking. So if one AZ has an issue, the others are unaffected. But at the same time, they're all interconnected with super high speed, low latency links. So you can spread your application across many AZs to make it highly available and fault tolerant. That means, so let's say you're hosting your application in Mumbai. So if the data center in Mumbai is down, it shouldn't affect the application, so that it can jump into the other AZ and be able to balance our entire working of our project. So AZ must have redundant power, networking, connectivity, and it should be also fault tolerant. Next is about AWS data centers. Zooming in further, these AZs are made up of Actual data centers, physical buildings, rows and rows of servers. These data centers are ultra secured and designed, okay? So it will have power backups, climate control, physical security, and more. You don't manage this directly. AWS handles all these operations and security. What I mean by this is, so AWS will manage our entire data center. These data centers are actually in the physical buildings where our servers are housed, okay? So if you're saying your application you're launching, you're just going in a virtual platform and you're just launching instances and hosting your applications. So it is highly secure and redundant. Next, next comes AWS edge locations or points of presence. So let's talk about edge locations, also known as points of presence. These are not fully blown regions, but small centers designed to cache and deliver content as fast as possible to end users. So, if you see, there are over 400 edge locations across 90 plus cities in 40 plus countries. When you use services like CloudFront, it sends content from the nearest edge, not from original server, making your website or app feel much faster to users. I'll give an example for this. Let's say maybe just say you are using Google, okay? So if you search AWS and you go for the first time, second time you search AWS, it will automatically come. Where is it coming from? It is stored as a cache in your browser. So the next time you search, it will give you the cached content. So it's just like the same. So these edge locations are all the same. When you host your applications, it will fetch the data from your respective edge locations. So it need not have higher latency and all. Okay. The next is about global versus region scope services. It's also important to know that which AWS services are global and which are tied to regions. So I've provided this table of content so that you can see global services, IAM, Route 53, CloudFront, and WAF. WAF is this firewall, okay? So this all global services, you need not have any region specific. When you need not choose your region and do. When it comes to region scope services, you have EC2, Lambda, Recognition, Elastic, Beanstalk. So the next slide is about cloud service models, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So these are very important to know. IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. You manage the application, OS, and runtime. AWS completely handles your hardware, example EC2, or virtual private cloud. Whereas this PaaS, which is platform as a service. You just upload your code. AWS manages the environment, example Elastic Beanstalk or RDS. You just have to say what specifications you need and AWS entirely sets it up. And then when it comes to SaaS, everything is managed. You just use the tool, example AWS Recognition or Gmail. It's like you're using the software or something. Nothing but fully managed, okay? And the next one, so before going to the next slide, this will help you decide how much control or simplicity you want when building apps. Okay, the next one. This is completely done. And this is the recap what we have learned today, what AWS Global Infrastructure is, all regions, AZs, data centers, edge locations, how to choose a region, difference between global and region scope services, cloud services, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So this is our video about this entirely. This is important when you go. It's just not about hands-on on AWS. It's about knowing all the services. Not these are not the services, but you should have an idea on how AWS actually works. So if you like this, please subscribe. This I've made this presentation for you guys to explain how all this works. So thanks for watching and spending your time on this. Please subscribe.